Right, it's Thursday afternoon, it's 2 o'clock. It can mean only one thing. The Consonance live stream is live. Another cracking episode, we'll call it, for you today. We have got lots of stuff lined up. And so I'm going to rattle through the first bit. Where are we? We are going to be doing Task of the Week. We are reporting spotlighting. We are going to be taking an item from our own correspondence and really sharing some of the very specific ways that we solved some very specific standard publishing problems with you. And then we're going to be looking at what's new in Consonance again. So what is this week's Task of the Week? Well, it's very topical, isn't it? It's very topical, and there's a certain looming deadline that we all know about. So I thought it was timely just to go over not a very new feature within Consonance, but something that is powerful and may just come into its own in the next couple of weeks for you. And that is extracting accessibility information from an ebook. When I say ebook there, it's something that's structured. So that could be a PDF, it could be an EPUB. But what we're looking for is the metadata within the ebook. We can programmatically hoik out and put into your metadata within Consonance that then goes out in an Onyx message. So let's have a look at what that means. I'm going to go to my work here, Cats Throughout History. And if I scroll down on this Insights page, I'm going to see that unfortunately we don't have any ebook accessibility data in at all for the moment. So this one is ripe for adding some information to. So what am I going to do? I am going to go to the metadata page. I'm going to upload a file, and then I'm going to hope that it's got some accessibility information in it already. And then I'm going to extract that into my metadata so that it can go out in Onyx, so that I can be compliant with looming legislation. So let's go to the metadata page, and I'm going to jump immediately to files, for files is what we're going to be uploading. And you can see already that I've got a front cover, lovely. I have got a content file, and it's got bookmarks in it. If we look on the expanded view for that, I can see that it's got bookmarks, but it didn't have any accessibility information. And so, Consonance cannot magic up accessibility information if it doesn't exist in the ebook already. It maybe goes without saying, but it's certainly a case that decent work has to be done to put accessibility information into your epublications, and then Consonance can help you get it out to save that particular burdensome administrative step. Okay, so this one is not going to be any use to us for accessibility. Let's add another one and see if we're going to have any better luck. And I know we're going to have better luck because I've got one prepared. So I'm going to say it's an ebook, it's distributable, it's approved, and the ebook I'm going to get is one that, let's have a look. We've got some good ones actually that we use for testing. Whenever we run our test suite, we make sure that all of the code that we have written does what it's going to do. And of course I can't find it now, so I'm going to look for accessibility information, and I can't find it. So typical, isn't it? Week 3, there we go. This is an EPUB, and I was looking for the name with more accessibility codes so that we can see a really good and rich example. Other people's software, you see. The moment I leave Consonance, it's all difficult. So I'm going to upload this file, I'm going to press save, and in the background, Consonance is going to parse that file. So it's going to step through, it's going to take a look at the information that's stored within it, and then it's going to present it back to us so that we can absorb it into our metadata. And whilst it's doing that, let's have a look at the ebook itself. So I've opened the ebook, the file that we just uploaded, and I've uploaded it into, I've opened it in a program called Sigil, and I've gone to the package.opf file. You can consider ebooks to be a little bit like a website. It's structured, there's files that relate to each other, and just like a website, there's metadata. And at a glance, it's really quite meaningful. You can see that there's metadata here, it's got contributor information, the publisher, the rights, and it's got some of these interesting accessibility feature pieces of information. And it's even got the accessibility summary here. And all of this is good stuff for us being able to declare that this is what the ebook contains. So back to Consonance. Let's have a look to see if that's uploaded okay. And we go to files, and now sure enough we've got our ebook, and it's got bookmarks in it. So let's have a look what that looks like. It's got the bookmarks, and just like the other one, we can see that it's got a table of contents that we've constructed from those bookmarks, and we can add that as a marketing text, which is a super useful time saver, and it's also an accuracy saver. It's like you have to make sure that this changing ebook as you approach publication, it matches the data in your metadata, and it's just not very good if those two things are out of step. So once your ebook is finalised, uploading it and adding the table of contents as a marketing text is a very nice way to get consistency. But look also, as well as bookmarks, this file contains epublication accessibility details, and these are all of those details. And it's taken it straight from the metadata that we just saw in the ebook itself. There's no funny business going on here. This is an extraction of data that already exists. So it's super reliable, super straightforward to see where this information has come from. And it's also got content type accessibility details as well. So that's all great. So we're going to be able to add that information to Consonance, and that's going to be really nice. So being able to hit a button, add it to the ebook accessibility there, is going to be really super. And then, as I say, because you can get that information presented back to you at the overview level on these various pages, we're going to be able to see that, if we hop over to another book, you can at a glance see that the EPUB information is right there, and all nicely coded up with the ONIX tags that are necessary for being able to send it straight out in ONIX and then onto your trading partners. So that's our task for the week. We've been able to extract data from an ebook and get it into Consonance. And I should just nip down to show you that what that looks like is at the bottom of the page. There's our EPUB accessibility details, all so that you don't have to type them in. Very nice indeed. Right, on with the show. What is next on our agenda? What is in the reporting spotlight? And this week we are going to be looking at explore buttons. Now, explore buttons have been popping up in Consonance over the last few weeks and months, thanks to our hardworking team. And so you might have seen them, and so I wanted to have a look at them, have a look at what they do, where they go, what are we exploring when we click on one of these buttons. So let's go back to our Insights page here. Immediately I can see an Explore button, and I can see another Explore button here. And this is how these buttons are going to appear. We're going to be, on pages that we navigate to, most of the time you're going to be able to see a button that says Explore, and clicking on it is going to take you over to the reporting area of Consonance, and that's your jumping off point. That's the point at which you can start exploring from that data's point of view. So a really nice example of this is seasons. If you don't use seasons already, I strongly urge you to. The way to do it is on the metadata page, right at the top, add a season here. It's all user definable. You don't need us to tell you what your seasons should be called. You type in spring, summer, or autumn, winter 2026. You create a season there, and then it's free for you to allocate works to. And what it allows you to do is group works together in the way that you understand that season to be taking shape. And then you've got a single place in Consonance where you can go to see how the quality of that data is coming on, see if there's anything missing, see how many. Well, let's go and have a look, shall we? Instead of me talking about it, show not tell, Emma. So I'm going to seasons here, and I've got spring summer 2024. Here's our Explore button, 41 works. If I click on this, which I will do now, then I'm going to be taken to the reporting area, and this is what one of these Explore buttons is going to do. It's set you up a new report, and it says the report is going to return data where the works season include any of spring summer 2024. I can add to that if I want, include both of those, or I can say, well, actually include none of those, I want something else. But the point is, you've been taken to the reporting area without having to set up your own report, and you can immediately see, okay, there's 41 works, 55 products. Maybe I want to see a list of the prices in the season to get a sense of, what the top and tail of it is. I'm going to be able to do that. Maybe I want to choose one of these other myriad displays. Maybe I want to have a look at how the data quality is coming on. I'm going to be able to see that one of the products in this series has got no measurement information whatsoever. And if this, date was approaching where the season was about to go live, or even worse, if the season's gone live already, then what is going on with our missing measurement information? So, it's good to be able to go into a report like this that also acts as an immediate data quality alert system. What else can we do? We can look at license rights. We can download, all of the advanced information sheets for all of the works and the products within this series. It's a nice way to go from one part of Consonance to another part, and then carry on with whatever investigations you're considering. So that was I've just hit the back button. We came from the seasons list display there. So I went to navigation, seasons, just the list there. If I click now to go into spring summer 2024, I'm going to see even more useful breakdown of information about the works that have been tagged as belonging to season SS 2024. So, we've got this stuff at the top, like we just saw in reports. We know 41 works, fine. We've got some discussions. We've got 135 to-dos. This is all great. As we scroll down here, we've got some other really interesting kind of cuts of the data. This is an A-star heavy season, lots going on. So that's really nice to see at a glance. And here is another Explore button, Explore marketing tiers. So if we click on that, again, we go over to the reporting area, same initial filter, work season includes any of spring, summer 2024, but now we're looking to see, we're further filtering it down to see, okay, show me the in-house work classifications that are present here. And so that's nice to be able to see those. So hit the back button. I could do the same for work types and for project stages and to-dos. It's really this does act as a hub for being able to zoom over and see all of the, it doesn't mean it's going to be good news, all of this overdue stuff, but it's really powerful. And it means, I think, that consonants can kind of recede into the background and your data is pushed to the foreground. You don't have to sort of stop and think, how am I going to get consonants to do this for me? You follow your nose. So follow these explore buttons and you will find yourself looking at the thing that you need to look at right now. And these seasons are particularly, useful for that. Useful to be able to get a glance at how things are going, and what needs doing next. There's lots of other parts of the system that are going to be using these explore buttons. If I go back to our PowerPoint thing here, that some of the pages that include the explore buttons are these. We've looked at seasons, the work overview, that insight page. We've also got explore buttons from a batch, from a series, and then lots from the settings as well. So if you went to your in-house format page in settings, if you've got a particular format, B format paperback, say, that's applied to 1,000 works or 1,000 products, then, use that as a jumping off point to dive in further. Have they all got the right prices? Have they all got reasonable publication dates? So on and so forth. So yes, so explore buttons are the new hotness. I encourage you to follow them and do some exploring. But for now, I will leave that with you and we will look at the next item on the list, which is from our own correspondence. We have rifled through the support ticket list this week and we have dug out a very interesting email that we received from one of our clients. It really just goes to show that there's no such thing as a simple question in publishing. So I've obviously anonymised this, but I have tried to give you a sense of the idea that when you come across a problem in publishing, it's a really good idea to reach out and ask if you're at all weirded out by it, if you're at all thinking, has this ever happened before? Is this a unique experience I'm having? Because we do see a lot of edge case questions. So I'm going to answer this particular question very, straight down the line. But you can imagine there would be a lot of variations of this. And so I just wanted to say, definitely don't be a stranger, get in touch, and we'll be delighted to say, aha, in this case, such and such. So what are we going to answer this week? We are going to look at this question. How do I pull products from sale in a specific context? So this is the idea of, okay, I published a product. Now I no longer want to be the publisher of it. What do I do? And this sort of question can come up for a number of different reasons, can't it? The rights might revert. You might sell the imprint. In this particular example, let's have a look at what exactly happened. So in this particular example, there's a whole clutch of products in a series. They're a particular format. They're the ebooks. So they're the product on a work. And the customer needs to remove the ebooks from sale. The customer has asked the aggregators to pull them from their platforms. And then they ask, what is the best way to ensure they don't get fed out again after they're removed? And I've left that bit in verbatim because it's so interesting. Of course, that's your instinct. You've removed the products from sale. Wonderful. You've managed to get people to action their emails or whatever. For heaven's sake, we don't want to send them out again in Onyx. Actually, the opposite is true. You do want to send it out in Onyx. You want to send out your product's publication information with the correct status on it. Now, that correct status will be something like, this isn't our product anymore. But to solve this problem, you don't not send a feed, you send an updated feed with the correct information. So we'll see how that pans out as we step through this question. But I just thought it was such an interesting case where, of course, that's what you think is the logical thing to do, but not always. Okay, so what did we say? What was our first question back from this? We wondered if that was a global action. So are these products being sort of stopped in their tracks entirely? Are they going to get sold by anyone ever at any point in the future? Because if it was just a question of this is the end of the line for this particular product, then we would send a publishing status of permanently withdrawn from sale or out of print, if that's the truth of it. You know, with these Onyx codes, you want to try to be as honest as possible. Rather than trying to find a workaround for reality, there is probably going to be an Onyx code that reflects reality perfectly. So if you are putting a product out of print, set the publishing status to be out of print. If it's been withdrawn from sale, then for legal reasons, then there's a code for that. So, you know, it's always really useful to look on the drop down that we'll look at in a moment, and read the notes that come from the Onyx standard. Anyway, so we asked that. We said, you know, is this the end of the line for products, or is it a bit more nuanced than that? And it was a bit more nuanced. The exact situation here is that the owners of the series are going to be selling the products themselves. And so, you know, because of the decision that's been made, the client wants to remove them from sale from their channels, because otherwise there would be a clash and a competing. So the situation is that products need to remain on sale, but not from us. So it's quite interesting. Anyway, so let's see what we did next, what we suggested next. And I've got two alternate histories here, or alternate realities. And it really comes down to the question of, is the other publisher going to be reusing the same ISBN 13? And if you're able to see red and green colour, the words on the left there say reusing same ISBN coloured in red, because that is usually a pretty bad idea. And over on the right, using a new ISBN 13, that is a good idea. And that really speaks to the second main point I wanted to make, which is when you're talking about a product that you've published, you are talking about your publication of that work. It doesn't mean that it can't exist in other flavours and other editions and published by other publishers. When you send out your product information, it's much more about your product as opposed to the work that exists that the author or whoever wrote as an entity on its own. Really what I'm saying is this information is at product level, not work level. But it's still, the important point is that it's your publication of it. So your publication of it has a particular pub date. It might be completely different for Germany, or it might be completely different for a translation. But your product has this discrete data, it has the pub data, it has this ISBN 13, it has this set of publishing status codes. So think about it like that. It's not so much that you're transferring the rights for a product from you to somebody else. No, you have this product, it's yours, even when you're no longer selling it in shops, that's still your product. So that's one of the reasons why reusing the same ISBN is a terrible idea, because you're starting to muddy those waters. You're starting to confuse other systems and other people, because the ISBN 13 is such a useful, semi-unique identifier for your product. So anyway, we'll have a look at what we would recommend in particular circumstances for whether the new product, for what's going to happen if the new product wants to have the same ISBN 13. So if that's the case, then our client should set the pub status to no longer our product. And as I said earlier, not just set that pub status, set it and send it out in Onyx, because this is what you're doing. You're updating the supply chain to understand what the position of your product is. That is the manifestation of this work into the supply chain. So your product is set to 05, no longer our product. You can also set publishing roles. So in the metadata page, I won't chop and change, but on the metadata page, there's a region called publishing roles, and you can say new publisher, and then you can select an organisation that is the new publisher. And you can say former publisher, and you can set your own organisation to be that. It's not mandatory, but in the interest of there's the fullest metadata possible, that's a useful option. And the Onyx standard also provides for a replaced by in Onyx, which can be set if that's a piece of information that you want to send out as well, or want to be set by either party. What if the new publication will use a new ISBN 13? This is much more clean cut, much less likely to result in difficulties. In this case, our client should set the pub status to permanently withdrawn from sale, and then send that status out in their Onyx feed. And the same other issues apply. You can set the publishing roles so that the supply chain knows that there's a publishing role of former and a publishing role of new or acquiring, and with the relevant organisations on that. And you can also send replace by for that. But as you can see, the main difference is the publication status can be set to permanently withdrawn from sale for this new ISBN mode. What's next? If you're reusing the same ISBN, or if the other publisher is reusing the same ISBN 13, you might want to drop them a line to say, this is what you could set your settings to make the supply chain as coherent as possible. So they would send out an Onyx message with the same ISBN 13 and a pub status of active. Urge them not to use the idea of a new edition. You publish new editions of your own works. Doesn't make sense to use the word new edition across different publishers. You can send that replaces and replace by in Onyx. You can do the same publishing roles thing. But as I say, consider this idea that the Onyx message is the product, not the work. Also consider that if you're reusing the same ISBN 13, other systems might be using the ISBN 13 as the single identifier of a product. So it's a very dangerous thing to do, to potentially be reusing what some systems might consider to be unique keys. I mean, the other systems are wrong, and ISBN 13 is not a unique key, but that doesn't mean it's not going to happen, and it doesn't mean you might not get stung by it. So urge the new publisher to allocate brand new ISBN 13s if at all possible. The only other thing I've said there is consider Onyx adherence. Just because you're sending data out in an Onyx feed does not guarantee that the recipient is going to do anything with it. I mean, our whole existence is predicated on the idea that hopefully they will, but it's still not a cast iron guarantee. So the fact that our client contacted the ebook aggregators directly in this important moment and made sure that they were on board, I think is a very prudent approach as well. You can't make any assumptions about how other systems are going to work. You can do the best that you can and hedge your bets accordingly. So what should the new publisher do if they're sensibly using a new ISBN 13? Same kind of thing, really. They are going to be sending out an Onyx message with the new ISBN 13, a normal active status. Don't use new edition. You can use replaces. Definitely set the publishing roles. But remember to redo the ebook file to change the ISBN 13 number that's embedded within its metadata. I don't think many utter disasters would happen, but they might. I've certainly had instances where the wrong ISBN 13 on the title verso page of a print book has resulted in a distributor scanning, typing that in at goods in rather than scanning anything, and allocating it to the wrong slot in years gone by. So certainly avoids potential chaos in the future if the data in the real world and on title verso pages and in metadata in ebooks like we saw, if it all lines up. So optimize for happiness and a quiet life. That's what I say. I should also say all of this information certainly is dependent on the specifics of the problem at hand. It's really important to consider the nuance of the challenge that you're facing. If you're in a pickle like this and need some advice and you're a Consonance client, absolutely get in touch. It would be a delight and a privilege to make sure that we're telling you to set the right things. But I thought this was a useful insight into a question that came up, and the answer that we gave. So there we go. That is from our own correspondence. What is next on the agenda? Oh, how exciting! It's what's new. What is new this week? What's new this week is copy and paste buttons on the metadata page in the marketing text region. Very exciting. Now, prefacing this with a big, stern, why are you copying and pasting data? Is it going to go in an email? Consonance is a very pragmatic system, and other ways of communicating data other than Onyx will always exist. Spreadsheets will exist, Word documents exist, emails will exist. So we're in the business of eliminating error and confusion at whatever stage it may get introduced. So being able to copy and paste some metadata out of the marketing region on the metadata page is pretty nice. So let's go and see what that looks like. I think we'll go to maybe Cats Throughout History. Let's have a look. Let's see what the metadata is looking like, what the marketing metadata is looking like for Cats Throughout History. We've got a short description and a main description for each of the products there. We've got a main description here, and if I look at it, we've got a public version, and we've also got an in-house version. And rather than grubbing around trying to use my mouse to select parts of this data here, what I'm going to do instead is not even open up that area. I am going to look at this icon here, which says copy marketing text if you hover over it for long enough. And that is now going to present this interface. You can copy the marketing text from this particular record, this main description, in a number of different ways. So remember, I just looked at the main description and we saw that we have a public version and an internal version. Well, that's what these two columns represent. And I can copy the HTML. In fact, I'll just do that. Copy, lovely. I could copy it as plain text if I don't want any HTML tags. That would be a good idea if I was pasting it into, can't think of anything, an email, I guess. Markdown if I wanted to paste it into my content editor. Really nicely, I can also copy the HTML with metadata or the plain text with metadata. So I'm going to copy that actually, and then just go to my text editor that I probably have open and paste that in. I used Command V there. And sure enough, I have got plain text with a P tag and the closing P tag indicating HTML. And I've got some really nice metadata as well. I've got the Consonance marketing text ID, just for ease of finding it later, particularly if you're a developer. The main description is the type of metadata that it is, which products it applies to, whether it's only applicable for Onyx 2.1, what the audiences are, and the number of characters. So that can be really quite helpful to grab and go some of your marketing text without even having to go into the record itself to find it. So you're looking for that copy icon, and if you were scanning the screen eagerly earlier, you'll remember that that copy icon exists in quite a few places, such as the overview page. So here's our copy ISBN, super helpful, so, especially if you want to copy a particular format of ISBN. So let me get that one with the ISBN 13 dashes there. That's nice. What else can we copy? We can copy this whole table. Click on that. Go back to my text editor. Pop that in. Great big table of everything. What else can I do? I can go to my sales analysis and I can copy the sales straight into Excel. That can be really very helpful and effective. So look for this button wherever you are passing through in Consonance, if you're in the market for copying something straight to the clipboard and then not having to do that thing where you have to carefully figure out which bit you're trying to copy. So that is what's new in Consonance this week. So let's go back to our agenda here and have a look for what's next on our list. Oh, goodness me, a bonus power move. How exciting. Everything's gone blue. Popped in an extra thing this week, a bonus power move. This is the sort of task where your colleagues are going to have their jaws hanging open, wondering how on earth you just did something so quickly. There are a bunch of features in Consonance that really do shave quite a chunk of change off of the time you're going to have to spend at work today. So today's bonus power move is download covers in bulk. And I've got a whole list of these lined up for future weeks as well, so I'm going to be very keen and eager to show you them. So download covers in bulk. A good way to do this is to add your products to a batch. Now you'll be able to add products to a batch from the reporting area, from pipelines. There's a number of different ways that they can get added. And we've got a batch here called cats, and it's got 3 products in it. And I'm going to click on it. Look, there's one of our explore buttons. Oh, they're everywhere. They're so interesting and useful. But I'm going to go straight into the batch here. And you can see, if you've never been here, that we've got some information about how we want to call this batch, if there are any subsections to it, and then what products are included. And you might think, why do we have batches? Why don't we just go to the reporting area and say, well, I want to see all of the products with this particular pub date range, or I want to see all of the products that are coming up in such and such a time. Sometimes in publishing, products just need to belong with each other for reasons that do not adhere to logic and cannot be put together by the simple application of search conditions. Sometimes you just need to put 3 books about cats next to each other, even if their pub dates are wildly different, or their authorship is different, or there's no data that they share that you can use to search for them. A good example is that sometimes, for reasons, you might want to send a particular set of products out in Onyx to a particular recipient because you've agreed a commercial arrangement with them, and that's just the way it has to be. So adding products to a batch in that instance enables us to only send that list of products out to that recipient. So that's a pretty useful one. There's other very useful things you can do with the contents of batches, which we'll come back to in later weeks. But today what I want to look at is this little link up here called Zip Contents, and if we click on that, we're going to be able to do a power move, because look, you can download all of the covers for all of the products in this batch into one zip file, and you can download them in a myriad of different ways, some of which will really jump out as being the formats that particular recipients in the trade require. You can also, if there are ebooks uploaded to your products and those products exist in this batch, you can download the ebooks as a zip file, and that can really impress people when you take on a new ebook aggregator and they say, you're going to have to, I'm afraid, get all of your data to us, we'll hear back from you in 2 to 3 business weeks, and you've done it by the end of the phone call. That's awesome and makes all of your careful data management so worthwhile. So yes, you can do that for ebooks. Let's do that for JPEGs at 250 width. And I'm going to go to my notifications momentarily, and then that's going to let me download the zip file. Give it a few short moments. And there we are, assets ready to download. And if I click on that and see it in my downloads folder, then I've unzipped it, and here are my works, my products. And that's fine for 3, but my word, when it's 150 or 1500, it really is a good moment, and you really thank your past self for having uploaded all of your images to your one version of the truth. So great bonus power move for this week. Enjoy finding these areas of consonance that will save you time and money. So that's it for this week. We have rattled through. I would love to hear if any of this is landing with you, if any of this has sparked some ideas for future topics that you'd like covering within these live streams. One of the things that I've been thinking about doing is redoing the consonance course from last year. I think it would be useful and interesting to redo that, because consonance is getting new features all the time, and it's exciting to be able to share what's new and what's coming up, and to hear what you think about it. So if you think that it would be useful to have a do-over of the consonance course, which was I think maybe 5 or 6 hour-long videos that broke down acquisitions, marketing, production and so forth, and went through the entire process from soup to nuts, then definitely let me know on support at Consonance.app. But in the meantime, thank you very much indeed for your attention. See you next week.